Well, we're in Gallup, New Mexico, and on the way today, we stopped at Ash Fork, Arizona, where I spent the year and a quarter as the in-college superintendent, a very small school district, but I was the chief administrator. I think you were principal and director or something, some different title they used. A very challenging assignment, one that I took that I shouldn't have, but I was very discouraged after the Somerton thing and then taking care of my dad, and we'll get into that in other videos. But while there, my office was in the high school, and I was the high school principal as well as the district director. And beautiful high school. Had a nice foyer area with beautiful flagstone floor. Ash Fork's famous for our quality stone, flagstone. And I wanted to go by there today and stop, since we were coming from Laughlin going to Kansas on 40, and to take a picture of that high school and talk a little bit about Ash Fork. Well, I couldn't find the high school. Drove around, looked, doesn't look right. Know I'm getting old, know my memory's not good, but doggone it. That was a beautiful building. I can't find it. I can find where the elementary school was, and it's been changed a lot. But what in the world? Well, then a lady was out working with her flowers. We stopped and visited with her for a little while. And she said, well, first thing I want to tell you is it isn't here anymore. Is it here anymore? No, they tore it down. Why in the world did they do that? Well, they claimed the roof was leaking and the maintenance costs were too high. And they tore it down and built that thing up over there, and they have a fancy field there now. And she said, my taxes have gone way up, and that's what we've got. Well, I didn't want to get into that a whole lot further. But Ash Fork was an interesting community. For years and years and years, all the potable water, all the water used by human beings was brought into that town. Now, this is not from experience, but from people telling me about it. It was brought into that town on the railroad cars. Now, you wonder, what in the world? Why don't they just put down some wells? Well, there's quite a layer of ash and cinder there, from what they told me, that will not pool water, that the water just percolates way on down beyond the reach of ordinary well drinking. Now, the truth is that a few years, not many apparently, but a few years before we were up there in 1983, 84, I think, they had a government grant. And I've forgotten how far down the locals said they went, and then they used different pumps at different levels to bring that water from way down to get it up and have a real fine supply of good water. I do know this, that when we had our little house up on the hill, we had a tank, I think it was a 1,000-gallon tank, and you paid a truck to come out and refill that tank from time to time, and then you had a little motor in there that would pump it and bring the circulation into your sink and your bathroom and so on. Well, that seemed strange enough. But then I met a cattleman or two. The one I really remember is Jack. Big operator, big farmer, big rancher, not a farmer. And learned that their water tanks for their water ponds for their cattle, if I understood correctly, those had to be treated very much the way some of the oil well drilling operations use mud to seal the sides of the cut that they're making down in through the different stratas. That since you can't have water pool down there where you can bring it up with well water, you can't have water set up in a pond for your cattle unless you mud it so that it'll hold water. Different country. Beautiful country. One of the interesting things after I had been told, yes, you have the job, was to find out that that the school district didn't bus all of the kids, that a lot of the families had to bring their kids to school. I said, wait a minute, you can't do that. That's against the law. If you bus some, you got to bus them all. They said, we really can't. But after you're up here, let the head of transportation take you out, and he'll show you why you can't do that. Well, you know what? We went out in a station wagon, and we went down into some arroyos and up. I wasn't sure a station wagon would go down and go up on the other side. No way could you have put a school bus down and up. So, understood that pretty quick. Well, I went up there, I think it was in April of one year, and in September, I believe it was, might have been October of the following year, we had an activity down at Prescott, and boy, while we were down there, the rain came, and it rained on the way back, and we got back into Ash Fork and heard about a terrible tragedy. A mother, a father, a kindergartner, and a baby had perished. And when the rest of the story came out, they'd been in a pickup crossing one of those arroyos as that water was coming up, flooded out. People came by who weren't flooded out, offered to give them a ride, and they said, no, we'll get it started here after a while. They didn't. The water came on up. Oh, and they had picked up a family that was walking, a mother, a couple of children, and an itinerant fellow, a hitchhiker, I think they said he was, that this family had taken in a vet and he was walking with them. And they were in the back of that pickup. Well, the water kept coming up, and as I understand it, it got to the point where the pickup was rocking and was going to go, and they decided we got to do something. The mother of the family that perished and father were up above, and they tried to throw them a rope. Couldn't get the job done, but they had a rope in the pickup apparently, and they talked it over, and the hitchhiker said he was a good swimmer, and he went out on the end of the rope and was going to try to get over and anchor the rope, and then they could use the rope to get out of there. They said the mother of the family that was walking, and the family that had picked up the hitchhiker, told me later, she said he was like a fish on the end of a line, just no way could he get to the shore, so they finally cut him loose and figured he'd drown. He survived. She said, I told my children, I want you to survive. I can't swim, you can swim some. Do not help this family. They've been good to us, but I want you to survive. You go out one at a time and see if you can make it and survive. They did. She said, I went out, and she said, I knew I was going to die, so she said, I just laid back and relaxed. And she said, I guess I must have had my hands up, because suddenly I felt something brush my feet, and I grabbed onto a tree limb. Everybody in the back had survived. The mother and the father, apparently, from what I heard from other sources, each took a child and went out, and all four perished. In a country that's fairly dry, Arizona, seems like there's more deaths from drowning than in many another state. That's enough of that story. Ash Fork, quite a place. Met some of the best people I've ever met right there.